A very happy Easter to everyone here. That's kind of cool looking out. It just looks like flowers, all the paschal colors here. So it's beautiful. It's such a beautiful spirit. Of course, we've been fasting, hopefully, for 40 days during Lent and dying to ourselves. And now we get to resurrect with the Lord in his resurrected glory. There's one point, really, that I want to hone in on, and it's a little particular. In this gospel, we hear a good bit about burial cloths. We hear they both ran, but the other disciple ran faster than Peter. Arrived at the tomb first, he bent down and saw the burial cloths there, but did not go in. And we hear from Simon Peter's view as well. When Simon Peter arrived after him, he went into the tomb and saw the burial cloths there, and the cloth that had covered his head, not with the burial cloths, but rolled up in a separate place. And a great question is, it's nice. Why is he going on about burial cloths, So an important thing to remember is that every book in the Bible, this gospel, it's a book. So Father Harold goes to the library and picks up Tolstoy's War and Peace. I'm not going to be like, okay, 672, read that paragraph, and then the next day, page 34, that looks good, read a little bit there. And I'm going to read it from beginning to end. Now, of course, there is something mystical about Scripture where we can most certainly reflect on just individual phrases, and they can be very meaningful, and the Lord speaks to us. His Word is alive. But there's also the truth that just the context of the book as a whole, it gives us context. It gives us clarity on what we're looking for. So in this same Gospel of John, 9 chapters earlier, where else did we hear about burial cloths? If you recall, it's the resurrection of Lazarus. So that's the only other time in this Gospel of John when we hear about burial cloths, and it's meant to point something out to us. If you recall, if it's still fresh in your memory, Lazarus he had died. He was called out of the tomb by Jesus. Right, Lazarus, come out. And Lazarus comes out of the tomb. And we kind of almost imagine kind of like a zombie, kind of thing. It's like, and he's just shrouded in the burial cloths, and everyone was worried. Martha was worried about the stench, right, and everything. And he comes out completely covered in those burial cloths. If you recall, Jesus actually has to command his friends there to remove them from his body. What do we see here? Again, he bent down and saw the burial cloths there on the ground, but he did not go in. When Simon Peter arrived after him, he went into the tomb and saw the burial cloths there on the ground of the tomb, and the cloth that had covered his head, not with the burial cloths, but rolled up in a separate place. And kind of the literary thrust of this is to evoke the great difference, my friends, between Lazarus' resurrection and that of Jesus. Lazarus was resurrected again to glorify God. That's the whole thrust of that story. But he actually died again. Right? He's still shrouded in those burial cloths. Jesus Christ, upon resurrecting, has command over death, and he has taken them off of himself and folded it up and put it off to the side. So my friends, there's something very different going on here in the gospel, and that is crucial for us to recognize. I think sometimes people can have a vision, or it's just a vague vision of heaven, and you might as well think our afterlife, right, God willing, our time in heaven might be something akin to just Lazarus. It's just another life. Something like that. But that's absolutely not true. What we are celebrating today is Jesus Christ resurrecting in glory with a resurrected body, a glorious resurrected body, and that we profess every Sunday, right, that if we follow the Lord's commandments, do what he wills, if we are friends of God, if we live like friends of God, we too don't just come back to life, right? Kind of like a mediocre resurrection like Lazarus. We come back and we ourselves take on Christ's glory and our own resurrected body too. And that, my friends, is what awaits us. These beautiful, beautiful, glorified, resurrected bodies. No more arthritis, no more pains, no more back aches, okay? Nothing like that. Truly glorified bodies that glorify the Father and add to God's great glory in how He has saved us and has brought us not only from the eternal death that was wrought by Adam and Eve, but to something even greater than what we had before. So what's in it for you, What does this have to do with me? What does this have to do with me? Well, do you believe in the resurrection, my friends? Do you believe that you one day, God willing, will have a glorified body, just like Jesus Christ, just like His glorious resurrection that we profess today? Do you believe that? That answers the question. What's in it for you? Exactly that. Do you believe that? Does your life reflect that fact? Does how you live reflect your hope, your desire for that glorified body one day, that glorification with Jesus Christ? Think about it. When you go to the gym, they're lifting weights. There are all these people that are way bulkier and beefier than you, and then they have pictures of all the bodybuilders and stuff on the walls to add insult to injury, and chubby old Father Harold is there trying to get in shape. And when I'm there on squat day, it's just why am I doing this to myself? I see the pictures there, these models, I'm like, okay, that's what it's for. Okay, yes, all right, keep going. Or you're saving up for your first car and you rip it out of the magazine, put it on the wall, all right, and you look at it and your desire foments for that lovely insert favorite car here, okay, and you're saving money and not spending things for that thing, for that car that you're saving up for. Okay, maybe something a little less egotistical. I've heard good fathers say that they put pictures of their family on their desk or wherever they work to remind them on the difficult days what they're doing it for, what they are doing, what they are sacrificing for. And maybe along with what I was asking earlier, do you believe in the resurrection? Do you believe that that's for you? Has this symbol become commonplace? Because yes, it is the death of Christ. It is His crucifixion. But we profess it and exalt it, because He resurrected, which is what we're celebrating today. And has this become commonplace? This should be those bodybuilder pictures in the gym, that nice car photo on your wall. The picture of your family should inspire you. Every single day, every single time you see it, it should foment your desire to be united to Christ. Keep your eyes on the prize, as it were. And our prize, my friends, is resurrection with Christ. So yes, we do see the cross here, and we always exalt it, but it is not just because we hate ourselves or we love death. Quite the contrary, it's because Christ has conquered death. And I hope that here, perhaps, you just think about that a little more. Right? Take that example to heart, and that every time you see that, remember, it points not only to Good Friday, but Easter glory. If the commandments of the Lord, the precepts of the church seem onerous and difficult, right? It's not onerous and difficult, and it's not all there because priests in the church like to wag fingers, get tiresome after a while. That's not what it's there for. It's to help you get to Christ, to live in accord with all of his rules, all of His desires, to unite yourself to His will, so that you can be in relationship with Him, loving relationship with Him, so that you can serve Him well, and so that truly one day you might not have just a resurrection, a simple resurrection of Lazarus, but the resurrection of glory with Him. Eyes on the prize, my friends. Eyes on the prize. That is what we celebrate this Easter. It's all primarily for the glory of the Father, truly, but we reap the benefits through Jesus Christ. So recall that always. Every cross that you see on your wall, don't let it become commonplace. Let it foment your desire to be united with Christ in glory forever. This is very fitting because we're actually going to stand up in just a moment we're going to profess our faith again. We profess every Sunday the resurrection of the dead, all these other articles of the faith that keep us close to God, that help us to believe correctly, believe rightly, to align our lives with Him. So I hope maybe this Easter your mind has changed just a little as you profess those I do's, or do you renounce Satan with ever more strength, that you let the glory of that Easter resurrection permeate your heart just a little more this Easter. And a happy Easter to everyone here.